much. We appreciate the time and being here. I hope you can tell, kind of starting off, that Brainstorm we try to be a pretty fun organization, have a lot of fun. But we're going to talk about several things today. And we have a deck. We'll use it a little bit. We'll try not to depend on it too much. Really, our desire is to really have a conversation with you guys and learn from you as well. But we're going to share some ideas with you, some things that we've learned being in space as practitioners about engaging the unengaged learner. Okay. First of all, though, I want to just kind of have an understanding of who's here today. So we just kind of go quickly around the room and let me know what your kind of where you are in your program of study, and just kind of understand who we've got. Who wants to start out? Yeah.
I'm Isaac, and this is my youth graduate program.
Awesome. Welcome. Who else? Right here.
I'm Justin, and I'm in the same boat.
Okay. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should say who here are master students. Awesome. First year, second year. First year, second year, second year. Okay. PhD students. Awesome. Great. Okay. I thought I'd speed that up a little bit. So anyway, so a little bit about us. I help with product development at Brainstorm Inc. and have been at the LDS Church. Prior to my 2 years at Brainstorm, I was at LDS Church for about 2 years as a media producer and instructional designer, and still kind of contract with the church doing live events such as broadcasts, worldwide broadcasts and things of that nature. Noah has a great background as well. He was at LDS Church, and he kind of shepherded Yammer. So he was the evangelist that kind of brought Yammer as a platform to the LDS Church, and there was a lot of change and growth in adopting that platform as well. As you heard, he studied at Pepperdine, and then kind of got snatched up with his knowledge of Yammer and his help with helping organizations adopt Yammer. Got snatched up by Yammer and then Microsoft, right? And then we grabbed him from Microsoft, and he's currently Brainstorm. So anything you'd add to that, Noah?
Yes. In church employment, my experience was a little frustrating. I knew people had the information and knowledge that I needed to do my work as an instructional designer, but I couldn't tap into them, right? I didn't know who they were. And so I was assigned the leadership pattern program within HR, which is meant to address some significant challenges the church was facing, right? They said in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have a huge, like 80% attrition of current leadership. How do we deal with that as an organization, right? So they licensed a whole bunch of HBR articles and video tutorial or video lessons from these world leaders, and I said, why don't we tap into the experience we have and breathe life into this library that we've licensed and make it our own? And that's the way Yammer came about. And we connected. It's amazing some of the things that came out of it. The story I love to tell is Seattle, there's a temple there. Cebu, Philippines, there's a temple there. They would never connect over email, right, or Skype or whatever, because they never knew that each other existed. But you gather people in an online space and invite conversation, and they were sharing things like, my towels are turning blue, right? How do I prevent my towels from turning blue? Or the lampshades, the light bulbs in the lampshades are burning the lampshades. What can I do about that, right? So it's just remarkable what happens when you bring people together online.
Awesome. So a little bit about Brainstorm, just kind of understand some context. We are a local learning practitioner here in Utah Valley, and we're focused on learning and change management, specifically for software adoption. So we are a Microsoft partner. We basically work with organizations that buy Microsoft products, and then we kind of hold their hand and give them training products and things like this to help their organization adopt the software. And what's interesting about that is someone can purchase Microsoft stack and make software available to their employees, but it really does no good if that software is not adopted. And so that's where we come in. Microsoft typically will introduce Brainstorm and say, here's our learning partner, Brainstorm Inc., and we'll come in and basically work with their organization, using best practices for change management and learning theory to help people understand the concepts and really see the vision of what their software is able to do. Our end goal is to partner with these organizations toward productivity. So that's what we're all about, is making their employees more productive through the use of their software that they really purchased, right? So, you guys have heard of all of SalCon and the flipped classroom. Is that a favorite for you guys? I know I'm a big fan of SalCon. And we like to think of ourselves as flipped classroom for the workplace, right? Because it doesn't work when you get someone in a room or you send them a lecture that's super formal. Maybe in education that works, but we're seeing more and more that people want to work in ways that are informal, that are kind of bite-sized, much more consumable. And so we want people to be able to consume content and learn at their level and be able to be more engaged that way. And so that's why we kind of think of ourselves as flipped classroom for the modern workplace. Anything to add on that, Noah? So it's personalized, it's informal learning, and what we help organizations do is overcome the problem of software adoption. So I don't know, unless you're in software or technology deployment, you probably haven't heard the term Deployment Monday. But that's what a lot of Fortune 500 and large companies are up against in their IT and their HR departments is a Deployment Monday scenario. Anybody take a guess at what that might mean, Deployment Monday? Right here.
Well, no one really likes Mondays, so
Good start.
maybe Deployment Monday is, we're gonna deploy this product on this day, and everybody's like, I hate that day.
Yeah, has anyone had a situation where you'll get an email or you go to use a certain software platform and you find out, hey, I don't know how to be productive anymore. Someone in IT or somebody changed things up on me, and now I don't know where things are, right? That's Deployment Monday. That's how really large organizations deploy their software. Not the best for growth or learning or adoption, right? But that's how they do things. And so we will partner with organizations, and we'll find out when their Deployment Monday is, and we'll go in before and start creating training around affinity and awareness. Basically kind of an art of the possible training, showing people what's possible. Why is your organization adopting this software? Kind of show the wow moments and help them to really get excited about what sort of productivity gains they're going to get by adopting the platform. And then maybe even have some sessions where we start to show actually how to use it, even before the software platform is adopted. What we don't want to do is we don't want people in our partner organizations to be surprised, to come into work on that Deployment Monday and see, oh, whoa, there's a new software and I didn't know about it. And now I have no motivation to change or do something differently, So there's a lot of things we do as we work with our customers to make sure that's not the case, to make sure that people don't do things the way they've always done it for 20 or 30 years. And so we don't like Deployment Monday.
And one thing I'd mention here is those that get software, those that get tools, right? They're already way up to speed. We come and present affinity and awareness. They're like, yeah, I've been working this way my whole life, right? Those are the superheroes. They already have the superpowers. We're trying to address the audience that doesn't know what these new tools will make them capable of and give them the superpowers, right? I love to think my boys are young and they love superheroes, and so these tools really enable some really superpowers if you think about it.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do is we enable drip training or just-in-time training, and the idea is that people can learn better if they have one principal led by another principal, and they get it in little batches throughout their week or their month, rather than sitting down and having like a 2 or 3 hour training session. We want all of this content available to them so that if they have 10 minutes, and they're coming into work and they're on train and they just want to sharpen their skills or whatever, or they're on a bus, or maybe they schedule 20 minutes for themselves in the morning. Whenever is best for them, we want to give them jerk training so it's reinforced and they can refer to it often and it's at their own pace. So that's kind of a term that we like to talk about, jerk training or just-in-time training. There's another principle here that comes into play, and it's really the evolution of content, the type of content that we develop, that goes from task-driven to principle-based learning. So let me give an example. people come to us because they want to learn different software loads and different software platforms. So I'll give you the example of Skype for Business. So people come to us because they're going to deploy Skype for Business, and they want their workers, their employees in the organization to understand Skype and how to get around Skype, how to place a call, and how to create a group with their collaborators and their peers. They want them to understand how to respond in Outlook and set up a Skype for Business meeting. Instead of replying by email, say, hey, I'm gonna reply with a meeting. And now we all have a place we can meet on this because it's a big enough problem. It shouldn't stay in email. We need to collaborate together, right, in a more rich way. And so people come to us and they make a purchase decision because they're trying to learn a specific platform. But what we're trying to do is help enable higher level learning. So the way we like to think about it is, well, do you want your employees to only learn Skype for Business, or do you want to help them learn how to hold an effective meeting? Right? So there's a difference there between learning a platform and learning principles of productivity. Right? So that's kind of what we're all about, is not only just teaching the software, but teaching productivity skills as well.
Do you guys see an opportunity to use Brainstorm from the description you've heard so far in your own life?
Well, yeah, so I just think I work in the product management office, and I'm kind of the resident Jira explainer.
Oh yeah.
And so I was really curious, and actually your last point kind of addresses this, but I was curious because a lot of the questions are very, very specific, and I kind of have to figure out what this person I'm trying to help is trying to do, and it seems like it'd be really hard to tailor that, but it seems like you're kind of sidestepping that by saying, well, here are kind of the general rules, and I'm curious to see how you weave the tool itself into that learning.
So there's several ways that we do that. Great question, by the way. Well, one of the ways, we have different products and services that we offer. One of the things we found effective is if you're just trying to learn a specific software, a more formalized course is pretty good for that, right? Because it allows people to understand. So we have instructor-led training. We have instructors that travel all over the world and meet with organizations and just actually teach them the software. We try to use as many stories and use cases and things like that. We try to develop content as kind of as a takeaway that people can have something to refer back to, right? Because that's important. But another product, this is kind of what we're talking about, is Quick Help. And Quick Help is our learning platform that allows people to go in and see content kind of like this, organized into different courses or playlists. But then we do some other things as well. And one of those is events. So we have a series of live streaming events that we invite people who are Quick Help subscribers to be able to come to. And I actually noticed we have about, looks like 10 or 11 people joining us online here. Are you guys hearing okay? Raise your hand if you can hear us. All right. We got Dave and James, Michael, Steven, Spencer, Becky, Jason, Matt, and Bodana. So we feel your pain, right? And I think it's awesome that the instructors here are requiring you to come and learn, doing some distance learning. And I think it's important that we understand not only the abilities, but also the kind of the limitations that presents each and every one of us as educators and instructors. But one of the things we do to really kind of introduce a human element and that people really love, we just call them events because that's what they are. They're just a live instructor-led event. So during the week we have about 10 different events that we talk about different Microsoft courses. But then we have a productivity focus session once a month. And during that productivity session, we're still teaching software, but we're wrapping it in a larger wrapper of productivity. So instead of talking about specifically Skype for Business or OneDrive or Outlook or another Microsoft workload, we're talking about communication, collaboration, data-driven decision making, things of this nature. Things are a little higher level and inclusive of different software platforms. That's one of the things that we've done that we've seen a lot of success with at Brainstorm is we've created a studio where we have instructors actually come into the Brainstorm offices and they'll present from there. And people love that because they can not only watch the instructors live throughout the day, because we have 5 or 6 different sessions, so we actually have live moderation so people can ask questions and feel like they're getting the same human experiences they would get if we come to your location in New York or Miami or Los Angeles, wherever you're located. Obviously, it's not quite the same, but it's a better kind of experience than if you were just consuming our recorded content online. And that's one of the things that has been a real success. So here's an example. I don't know how well you can see this, but we've got Todd and Tyler in front of the camera here in our little studio in American Fork. And you can see we've got a green screen behind them. You can see them here on the monitor, what they look like. And then the product that goes out, the live event actually looks more like this. In this case, Todd is teaching us about professional communication and how it's important in the workplace that we're communicating. We're using the tools and resources we've been given to professionally communicate and to make sure that we're sharing tribal knowledge. We're getting back to people with a certain cadence and frequency, that we're using the right medium. If it might make more sense to get together and speak in person if there's a problem that arises where you need to collaborate or something of that nature. So kind of you can see how we're trying to wrap software training and learning in a larger context of let's help you to get productive, let's help you to be more productive in your everyday life. And people love these events. I'll read some of my favorite ones. We got this actually just this past week. Pretty amazing learning experience with instant chat, excellent Q&A, and great links to other resources and learning tools. I highly recommend Brainstorm and Quick Help. Shameless plug there. Real friends don't let their friends learn any other way than with brainstorming. Wow, pretty bold, right? Totally love this format for learning. Thanks for your awesome, quick, and to the point tutorials. They are perfect. This is my first event. I got a few tips I was not aware of. Anyway, people really like this format, and they come out in droves. They share it with the other people in the organization. And I think a big part of the success is that it's kind of a hybrid. It's formalized training, but it's a little bit more informal because you have the ability to ask questions, to collaborate with others, and I feel like people really like that way to learn. Question over here.
I think you have a question. You going to?
Yeah.
So Lynda.com, Brainstorm, like you guys are like in-house for Microsoft. Those are the products that you're helping people with, and you've got kind of a broader scope maybe than Lynda. I'm just wondering if you can speak to any of the commonalities between you, or more than elaborate more on what makes you different than a group that has a really broad range of different software products that they teach people about, and has a similar, a little bit of that similar feel to it.
No, that's a great question, and that's kind of a perfect segue into our next section here, so I appreciate that. Lynda does a really great job teaching on a lot of different platforms and topics. But Lynda is quite different than Brainstorm Quick Help, in that Lynda seeks to teach the engaged learner. When I mean that, you go to a course and you'll see that it might be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, but it's right there, and you kind of have to be intrinsically motivated to go and consume the content, right? Quick Help, though, and we haven't really talked about this a lot before, what Quick Help does is we target the unengaged, right? So an organization will come to us and say, hey, I really need help. My software deployment, but hopefully it's not too late, but in some cases they'll say, we deployed this 3 weeks ago, and only 7% of our people have even looked at it. There's 30,000 people that we're trying to deploy this to all over the world. We don't have time to sit at everyone's desk and train them and make sure they do this. So what QuickUp aspires to do, and what we've had some success with, is designing for the unengaged audience. Now that can be all over the board for different industries and different software platforms. Let's say that that's 95% and 5% engaged, right? That's a huge group of people, right? 95% of your employees are not engaged and not going to normally adopt a software platform. So one of the things that we're seeing is that software adoption is very. It has to be fast-paced. We have to be updating our content regularly because it's a very fast-paced world, right? What we're seeing is that each and every quarter we have to look at our content and refresh it, because Microsoft, in our case, is gonna push changes. So we have to make sure that that's very current. We're building a platform versus just a video library. So in today's state, it's much more of a video library. It's kind of like an LMS with just tons of content in it. But what we're building towards the future, what we're working on right now, and actually have plans to release in early 2017, is more of a platform that seeks to engage that unengaged learner. And there's a lot of ways we do that. One of the ways is by profiling users and the behavior. Okay, so for example, when you come into QuickHelp for the first time, we'll ask you about the different platforms that you want to learn about. Because there's a whole long list of software that we train on. But maybe right now you're more interested in learning, how to store your files in OneDrive, right, or SharePoint Online. So you can move the dial and personalize it for you. And so basically, once you tell us what you're interested in, what type of worker you are, whether you're a remote worker as opposed to like a face-to-face sort of 9 to 5 in the office sort of worker, you give us some information about yourself, and we can tailor your learning experience for you. And that's one of the things we do. Another thing is that we will we kind of use some principles of digital advertising, right, to target and retarget the learner. Remember, this is not like a cold contact or somebody that we're finding on the street and we're marketing or advertising to them. These are organizations that want us to engage their employees. So we have POCs or point of contacts that are really invested, right? They want their software adoption to go well. And so they've given us access, and they've actually encouraged us to reach out to their learners, to their employees. So one of the ways we'll do that is, let's say that your organization, you're an employee at a big, Fortune, 500 company, and your organization is rolling out Excel 2016, for example, okay? And they say to you, you've got this much time to go ahead and learn the software. They'll assign you a playlist, right? So you show up and you log into QuickHelp, or even you'll get an email that says, hey, you've been assigned by your manager. You have 2 weeks to complete this playlist. Well, then you go in there and you see a quick overview, and it's designed to create awareness and excitement about the platform. And then the second thing you might do is get an invite to an event. And it'll ask you to go and sign up for events. So you go to the event page, and you see several different sessions that are available to you. Well, you can choose the one that works for your calendar schedule. And then what it'll do is, once it's on your schedule, the system will retarget you. So, the day before, you might get an email that says, hey, we're excited for you to attend this event. Don't forget, it's coming up tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And you think, oh yeah, I gotta make sure that's right after lunch. And so you start kind of thinking about it and preparing for it mentally. Then an hour before, we'll give you another email, and it'll say, hey, we're about to get started for the event, and here's a link to go and log into it. And then we'll send you another to follow up and get your feedback and things like that. So that's just one of the ways that we kind of target learners to engage them. And there's other things that we do as well that we'll talk about. That was a great question. One of the things we do is we put learners on a path or on a learning journey. You want to speak to that, Noah?
Sure. So, software, how many people think that they use all of the capabilities of Excel? Anybody?
Yeah.
No one?
Enoch does.
Enoch? You got all the formulas memorized?
Yeah.
Some macros built? Some pivot tables going on? No? So I think there's some statistic like 10%, right? A huge majority of people only use 10% of what's included in the software, right? These are the superpowers that we haven't unlocked, and we want to get them to unlock these superpowers, right? So the journey is meant to advance their performance with the tools, right? So we're thinking of gamifying it a little bit and saying, hey, you completed so many steps on this course, you're now captain, right? This is nothing new to a learning audience that's into technology. So we want people to get to the, what did we determine it was? Not guru, but master.
Master level.
We didn't want to use ninja or anything like that. What would you guys recommend? Master? You guys are all going to be masters, right? Coming up. Education's already gamified, guys. If you don't know about grades and mastering, it's all gamified, right? So we're taking that to the corporate world and allowing some autonomy, right? We want people to still feel like they have agency in this path, but really augmenting their performance by going down this journey. Anything that you want to?
No, that's great, that's great. And another thing I think that we've seen that's notable is that it's a little different than an LMS where you might have a ton of content that's just available, like a sort of a video library style. When you put people on a path or a learning journey, they have a very clear objective, and they know kind of what's expected of them, especially if you're using assigned content, right? So you can say, you know, the expectation is you'll go down this, you know, you'll master this amount of content by this date, and then at that point you can sign another, you know, path or journey, or people can sign up and create their own learning paths. We found that's a much better way for you know, learning to occur, rather than just giving access to a bunch of content. Yeah.
So thanks. I think it's a really interesting approach. I guess I have a question about unengaged and what that means. Because so the path approach, the journey approach, right? So that's a solution to overcoming unengagement or disengagement.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like that's one solution. That's a solution that you're making certain assumptions about why the person is unengaged to begin with, and you are solving that by invoking agency, right? So I guess I'm wondering about, obviously you're designing for the unengaged. I'm wondering if, as you're profiling users, if you're seeking for an understanding of why they're unengaged, or if there are different types of unengagement, and if there are different solutions to address different types of unengagement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes great sense, and you're right. You're right. We are assuming in many cases, and I think the reason for that is because we kind of have to make our best educated guess based on our knowledge and information the first time as we're rolling out this new platform. But those of you who are understanding of the ADDIE model, we're kind of in this design develop phase right now, and then we're going to launch and we're going to evaluate as well. So no, I think that's a great point. I'm interested as we start going into focus grouping with our very first beta version. I'm not supposed to say this, but the new version's code name is Laser. So we had a lot of fun with that. So that's the new version. But once we launch Laser later this year to an internal audience and then to an external beta audience with a limited customer base, that's one of the things that Noah and I and some other collaborators are really interested in learning about is why isn't content being consumed? We define this person as someone who's an unengaged learner, but why is that? Why are they not more engaged? Do they think they know the software adequately? That would be one of my guesses. It's amazing how many times we will hear about somebody who loves a new feature set that just came out. They think, in 2016, they'll say, "Oh, pivot tables, that's awesome! Wow, I can't believe you can do this!" And we'll say, "Yeah, that came out in 2003." So I do think it's important that we look at that carefully, and that's going to be something that we're analyzing and trying to figure out as we go. Thank you,
Royce. We're sitting here. This is what I love about gatherings, right? We're sitting here with the brightest minds, I would argue, the brightest minds on the planet, right? And we can put our design hats on and answer the question, like, we're taking a stab at it. What do you all think? How do you get at assessing why they're disengaged, right? Or not actively engaged?
Well, yeah, I was curious, do you guys collect learning analytics through your software platform? Do you guys have a cool back-end thing going on where you can see whether or not learners become increasingly engaged in your platform?
Yes.
Is that something you're trying?
Jim spoke to events. Events are a catalyst, I think, in part because, so if we wanted to get into the motivation theory, right, we know that agency or autonomy, mastery, and relatedness or purpose, right? I think these events drive at the purpose or the relatedness. Why does this matter to me? I attend this event, there's this trainer up here going crazy, right? Super enthusiastic about these superpowers that these tools deliver, right? I've never had that in my current, I sit at a cubicle all day, every day. Nobody ever talks to me. I'm crunching Excel, right, because I'm an accountant. And all of a sudden I've got Todd Kirk, who's this dynamic, right, trainer, and he's bursting my bubble around what matters to me, right? So there's this relatedness aspect that we get at, and we know that those that attend events are drawn into the experience of consuming video, doing assessments and whatnot. So yes, we know that for a fact in the analytics.
Quick question, could you please clarify the business model? Who attends the events and who has access to your quick?
Brainstorm quick help. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
great question. So our business model is really, we are B2B, and we're focused on working with organizations who have already licensed Microsoft software. And in many cases, Microsoft will make the introduction to their customer about Brainstorm. They'll introduce us and actually fund like a 90-day trial of our platform. And we have that in the first 3 months to kind of show them the value proposition of the learning platform, and then from there we're on our own, right? We've got to kind of help them see the value so that they become a customer at that point. But it is in many cases we're Microsoft partners, so we're partnering with Microsoft to find these organizations and to work with them. Does that make sense?
So once you get engaged with the client, then they have access to the events, they're invited to the events.
That's
They
correct,
also have
yeah. So-
access to the quick help.
Yeah, so we try to make everything kind of a package deal. So everything's included when you purchase Quick Help, and events is one of those things. That's kind of how we decided to price that product. It's just inclusive in our SaaS model. It's a software as a service.
So I think we have several million licensed for the product, right? And are designing for scale. There's usually someone at the organization that's tasked with driving adoption of whatever they just purchased, right? They want a return on investment. They spend millions of dollars with Microsoft and say, yeah, we know we need Word and PowerPoint and Excel, but what are the capabilities that we haven't unlocked, and how do we drive at that, right? How do we get our workforce to use those capabilities? So they're tasked with that, and they come to Quick Help and say, oh, you've got automated communications that I can send out to my people, right? That are very targeted to an audience, saying, hey, Excel training is happening this week on these days at this time. Come join the event or come watch these videos. We've got the library chock full of videos and tips, and then we have the quick start cards for reference and performance support. So that's a little bit of who we're trying to service with this offering.
IT departments, especially for larger organizations, they'll often have a help desk. And one of the things that has been a big value to our customers in the past is that Quick Help greatly reduces help desk calls, because people have instant access and they can just go and actually use the search functionality and search for a quick answer to their needs, to their call. Yeah.
I think you had your hand
Oh,
up first.
back here.
Ladies first.
I wonder what the credentialing assessment on all of this is.
Today we don't have a credentialing. I don't believe Linda does either. Maybe they do. But they're starting to, now that Linda's owned by LinkedIn and LinkedIn's owned by Microsoft, it gets really interesting where we play. But as you complete Linda courses, I think you can add them to your LinkedIn profile. Has anyone done that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you get little certificates that you can feature on your LinkedIn profile. Really interesting to us. Yeah, but we haven't. So yes, you have your design hat on and you're saying, why don't we certify people, right? Brilliant. But we're dealing with a whole bunch of organizations and cultures, and so there's a lot of nuances to account for. Please.
So, these learners, are they mandated then by their employer to participate? And then is their employer notified when they've completed the training?
Yeah, so I think, we deal with thousands of customers, so some, it's a mandate. It's that, hey, we want everyone to consume this content by this date so you can be ready for the software rollout. In many cases, it's just they want it available so they can reduce, help desk calls, or they can, our hope is that we can be available so they can increase in productivity, right? And then what was the second part of your question? About
Just whether or not
analytics and things?
there's kind of a follow-up where like a manager knows, hey, you haven't completed this yet, you need to complete
Yeah,
it.
so there's notifications that a manager could set up to be notified, but what we're building is actually a pretty robust little dashboard where a manager can go in and see the percent completed. Because it's a playlist, it's pretty easy for us to say, okay, this asset, it's 1 of 10, so that's a 10% completion. They can actually see a dashboard where they can see of all their assigned content, how much has actually been consumed and completed as well. And in addition to that, we are right in the middle of figuring out assessments. So we're building several types of assessments, really more, I think more for learning, more for reinforcement, rather than a more traditional assessment in the sense of a quiz. And so we're just trying to get our heads around that right now and include that in the platform as well. And one of the things we're going to be able to offer in the future is we're going to be able to show organizations the feedback that we glean from their employees. So if people have questions or people don't understand something, or they're basically going to see the survey results, and we're going to be able to display that to them. And I think that's going to be pretty valuable. It would be valuable for me to see what my employees are looking at and talking about, searching for, not understanding, right? That's valuable information. Yeah.
So, I'm just curious about maybe some employees in a company who are tech savvy and might not need to complete all of their assigned courses.
There's a need for them as well. So we are actually are looking into ways to almost having them like clep out of that course by answering some questions and clepping out of it. But they actually serve a big purpose with the platform that you'll see in a second. But essentially, we are trying to find ways to create kind of a community of practice or a community of inquiry within these organizations, and kind of having those. Is that me?
Maybe. I'm not FaceTiming.
It's my dad. I should answer it. Creating a community of practice or a community of inquiry, and we really want those people who are engaged, who are subject matter experts, or who have mastered that specific course. We want to get them talking to their organization, right? We want them to become the expert in their organization. As much as we want content available for them so they can learn, we want those people to be kind of have some notoriety, or allow people to understand that there is a skill set that this person has, And so we're looking at a variety of methods to do that, whether it's in Yammer or whether it's badges earned or a ranking score. We're actually looking at different ways to kind of help the cream rise to the top. And if someone is a SharePoint Online, ninja, as they say, I wouldn't want to know who that person is in my organization, because I'm going to want to go talk to them and collaborate with them. If I'm tasked with building a SharePoint site for my group, and this person's not in my group, he's a subject matter expert, or she, I want to know that. So that's one of the things we're trying to do is kind of build that the knowledge of that competency into the platform and let people know who are the SMEs in the organization, so they can go and collaborate and talk with them. Yeah.
I just had a question about like the digital advertising and profiling users. So is that the only thing that dictates their path or journey? Because like I spend a lot of time online, and like I get a lot of digital advertisements, and I don't click them, or like a couple of us were having this conversation yesterday about like how like Netflix will profile you as a user, but like if you devoted like 3 hours a week to watching whatever Netflix like says you should watch next, it'd be kind of awful. And so like, how do you make accommodations for those like kind of like that like difference in like what the user actually needs and what these like technologies, because you profile someone, but it doesn't necessarily like tell you everything about a user.
No, great question. So first, let me just clarify that that the platform, at least to date, we don't have it in the roadmap or in the plans. We don't glean information like Google does. Like, we don't behavioral target a user where they go and search something, or they talk to their Amazon, Echo, or like we don't pull all that information in. All the information that we glean is within the Quick platform. So when we first assess them, we ask them a series of questions about the type of user they are, about what their interests are in terms of their what platforms they like to learn, the kind of worker they are, and these things of this nature. And we're gonna be doing a lot of learning as we go. The idea is that we're introducing some AI and some machine learning. So I like to think of it as the Netflix of learning. We're not obviously that big yet, but maybe one day. But no, I think that makes a lot of sense, though, and we'll need to think a lot about how to ensure that there's a quality results that arise as a result of our profiling them and targeting them. Right now, I don't think there's nearly enough content to say that we can accurately say, oh, okay, so based on you wanting to learn this and this and this, and based on being this type of worker, you're going to have a much different, robust experience than someone else. We need to continue to create content to have more, robust learning experiences. But I do think that as we continue to build and as we continue to learn based on assessments that people are sending to us, I think that information can go into improvements in our machine learning and improvements in how we message them and the type of content that we send their way and ask them to consume.
And there's also you have to mix in this person tasked with adoption throughout the organization, right? They have objectives, and we mix that into.
So they can help like with
Yes,
pathways.
they can say, hey, we really want you to focus on. There's 12 different tools you can learn. Let's focus on these 3. Let's get this deep on competency or performance, right? So that we marry these two.
So we talked a little bit about optimizing our customer engagement through online marketing principles. We talked a little bit about personalizing the message and trying to tailor the content we have available to the learner's needs to improve engagement. We talked a little bit about how this is a data-driven analytics experience, and we also kind of discussed how we're looking very carefully right now at assessments and creating different types of assessments, not only to get to know our learners from the start, but also to assess their learning and to reinforce their learning as well. And then we also mentioned about identifying champions within the organization, so that other people can know and glean from their expertise as well. And so badges and awards are one of the things we're looking at. The other thing that I think helps create a better learning experience, I don't know how many of you guys have heard about HBDI. I believe that's the Herman Brain Dominance Indicator, where we're all very different types of learners. We learn differently, whether we excel in the analytical or the methodical, where we want step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. We have different ways of processing information and learning preferences. And so one of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to be whole-brained in our communication. So we don't want to just have a text step by step. If you're trying to do something, do this, then do this. That's great to have, and we need to have it. And we should also have rich content like video. We need to have assessments, activities. Go and do this thing and then report back. We need to enable conversations. We need to have coaching available. Like with our events, we have the live moderators. We can send someone out and have a face-to-face instructor-led training. There's a lot of different ways that we learn and that we prefer to learn, and that even our brains as individual people learn better. So that's one of the things we're looking at as well and taking into account, and trying to make sure that we're speaking to every individual person as we communicate to the masses. Any questions or ideas on or other thoughts on how we can continue to engage to design for the unengaged? In the back.
Hey Jim, did you mention how you were going to identify the champions?
I don't think we talked a lot about that, and that's something we're still kind of working on. But a large part of that I think will be a Yammer integration project. And so we want to, well, there's a couple ways. Not only do we want to notify others within the platform itself, but we want to integrate with Yammer so that we can enable those conversations to happen. So the idea is that when we figure out how do we want to design badges and things like this, maybe we'll carry those over into a user group within Yammer, and you'd be able to see, oh, you have a captain's star or whatever for, you know, OneDrive.
That's the cream rising to the top you were mentioning earlier.
Exactly, yeah. And the idea is that we want people to be embedded within the organization that are gonna drive those conversations and basically drive change within the organization. You know, we thought a lot about different things that can be done. Maybe there's like a, you know, an event, a kickoff event that people can have. You know, we thought about putting, we've actually done this in the past where we'll actually have little things that are printed out and put in break rooms and lunch rooms to get people talking about it, or having events and staging events, you know, at a location. We've even talked about, you know, working with an organization and having, you know, different rewards, right, for different levels of achievement within a software platform. So yeah, there's a number of ways. We are at the early stages of doing that right now. It's something we're thinking a lot about and planning out. But I'd be interested in, as a community of practice, a community of inquiry that we are, I'd be interested in your thoughts, and maybe we could even spin up a group on Yammer or another way to get talking about this and you know, keep the conversation about how do we design for an unengaged learner. Because I think no matter what type of educator, instructor, communicator we are, we all have that problem of designing and teaching the unengaged, right?
Just real quick on that before we leave the topic. Let's not kid ourselves. There are big players in this space. Microsoft, when I was there, was talking about anticipatory design. Has anyone heard of that? So you're working in Word. It knows what you need next. It says, hey, it looks like you finished. Let's email this, right? To whoever, right? They're thinking that way already. And they're already looking at, any guesses on why they purchased LinkedIn? Microsoft bought LinkedIn for like $26 billion. Why did they do that?
They're probably trying to put people with jobs best suited to them because they have all of these reams of data.
Okay,
No.
so they're gonna match them up to jobs? Microsoft, it hasn't traditionally been in that business, but they are. That's essentially what they're doing. So if you're a Microsoft customer, you're in Word and you're putting together a contract, they want to go through LinkedIn and say who is a legal contract in your net, or like an attorney, a lawyer who focuses on that, and they will within Word recommend that you reach out to this person, right? That's what they want to do. And that's huge scale. That's beyond what an organization, that this is for the planet. So think about that when you're thinking of designing learning and teaching moments, is connecting expertise as you have the need, as the need arises. So.
All right, we'll continue the conversation downstairs. Let's give Jim and Noah a round of applause.